you are unanimously also beloved and you are also received that role because you honor that by belonging in the first year and had a fiery session on the insider-outsider debate with Damodar Mauzo, in which we learned so much about Karnataka, and many of us also became kind of Kannada language protagonists after hearing you are Anantamurthy speak. So welcome Chandan, welcome Meera. Thank you so much for this event. The mic is yours. You can take it as long as you like. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vivek. Since Vivek showed you all the copy of Assassin, which it is dedicated to Gauri Lankesh, although the book itself is not about her. In the author's note, she has these two sentences that I thought would be good to start with. Assassin is an attempt to document the times and lives of the women of my generation, as personally witnessed by me. It's my own humble experiment with the Indian political truth, unquote. So please elaborate this thing. What is the Indian political truth and what we're trying to document?
Thank you, Chandan. I just remembered that I met you first in Goa only.
That's right.
That was in 2014. Yes. Yeah, so it's 2024 and 10 years and we are here speaking to. And you are asking me about the political truth and how I discovered it. That I will say that readers should read my book and discover for themselves. Right. Okay. But what I can say is that this is the book which I was, while writing, I was cross-checking with myself whether my personal experiences were truly the Indian political truths in the essence. I was just cross-checking each and every incident or experience I went through, juxtaposing the political truths of the corresponding period like that. And it was not an easy process, or it was not a pleasant experience, because I found out that how our governments had trained us to resort to violence, more and more himsa instead of ahimsa, and how we turned into celebrating violence and kind of trained us to end up in the situation we are in, where we are not concerned. We have quite normalized the concept of violence in every form, in every layer of our life.
Thank you. Meera, just for this interview, I actually tried to read up, and I read many of the interviews you've given and the available profiles of you in English. No one seemed to be interested in your childhood. They all began with your journalism and then after. So tell us a little bit about your childhood. What was it like? How were your parents? What was school like?
You don't want me to go back to my home ever? As a writer,
give us a version that will let you go back home.
Yeah. Luckily, my mother may understand what I say. But normally it is not easy to speak about my childhood and my parents because it was not that much pleasant an experience in those days. I was the elder daughter of two college lecturers, and we lived in a very rustic village called Shastangota in Kollam district in the southern district of Kerala. And both my parents were the first generation, what should I say, how can I say the job, first generation college teachers, even first generation
what did they teach? What did they teach?
My mother taught English and my father zoology. And so he wanted to make me a doctor or a scientist, or at least a college professor, but I had to disappoint him all through my life. I remember that from an age of about 4 years, I was constantly battling with patriarchy in the form of my father. So it was not an easy task. I think I understood or I learned about patriarchy from such a young age that I know a lot of things about it, even more than you know or some of the readers know. Then my childhood was not that easy because I was the elder child and my younger sister was about younger to me by 4 years, and she was quite sick. She was not healthy when she was born, and I was mostly brought up by my father's mother, whom I call Amma, that is mother only. So my childhood was divided between two villages, one with my father's place, that is Kunnatur, and the other in Shastangota. So whenever the father and mother, that is father and his mother, fought with each other, I'll be held as a ransom thing, no? So he will forcefully take me from her, from his mother, and bring to their place in Shastangota. And in Shastangota, I was like, from childhood, my father used to feed me like anytime anything may happen to him. So if I don't study well, I will be kind of I don't have a future unless I study. He'll be feeding such very pessimistic stories to me that I was really worried about my future and what if I don't study, what if something happened to my parents and all. Later he became slightly alcoholic, and it started affecting our childhood a lot more. And because my sister was younger to me and she was not well, I had to do a lot of sacrifices for her. So I was not allowed to. My first responsibility was to make her laugh all the time and not to make her cry at all. And she was such a very cunning and very intelligent than me that she will find fault with me for each and everything. And it was not that easy to manage the whole setup. So I resorted to reading. That's where.
What did you read?
See, the first book I ever read was read out to me by my mother. That was V. Sithyavev's the children's stories, children's book, no? That is Kuttikathakalum Chitrangalum. Was the title in Malayalam. So my mother will read it out to me with sound modulation and all. And I was trained to view the nature, even the insects, every small and big animals having a world of their own, and I used to imagine them in their worlds. What would be what will they talk to each other? How will they manage their daily lives and all? So I think that was the first exercise I got in this writing career. And soon after I learned my alphabets. I learned alphabets quite early in life, maybe around 2 or 2.5 years old. And soon after I learned it, I started writing stories also. And the first books I used to read, I started reading on my own, and Amma used to buy everything, every bit of children's book she comes across. Although we were living in a very remote village, whenever she goes to the town, she will buy books for me. And thus I started reading children's magazines like Balarama, Balayugam, then Ambali Amma, when Malayalam of this Chanda Mama, Malayalam version and all. Then there were some prized books like E.V. Krishnan. So once I came to 5th standard, I got a gift from one of my mother's colleagues, Girija Auntie. She's a professor in botany. She was a professor in botany, now retired. So she gifted me a copy of Mother by Matsungoki, and this is something which changed my outlook altogether. I think it was a bit early for a child to read that book, but I was really carried out by the story, the setup, the background, everything. And I think from there onwards, I was longing for such books, and I became a great fan of Soviet Union and everything which, every bit of Soviet Union, and even the paper in which their books were printed. So that's how. Then E.V. Krishnapilla. E.V. Krishnapilla is one of the, we say that the modern Malayalam prose was greatly shaped by him. His prose was so, after he was the son-in-law of C.V. Raman Pillai, the first novel, the first, it's like they are all iconic writers in Malayalam. So I used to read and repeatedly read all the pages that most of it were, I learned them by heart. And I think this explains, this is the secret to the power over language, your mastery over language. It's not reading a lot of books. It's like rereading the same book many times. So it is like once you read the same book many times, you grab or you assimilate the kind of language and the nuances of language. So that's how I was reading the same books again and again, because every day I have to read something. Then there were children's literature books published by DC Books and NBS, National Book Stall, which was very active in those days. They were publishing a lot of books written by Mali, who was a children's author, and I used to read them also. So like that, till 10th, it was mostly children's literature. Then
with the exception of Gorky's mother.
Gorky's mother. Then of course E.V. Krishnapillai, then C.V. Raman Pilla. C.V. Raman Pilla's books, actually years later when I read them again, only I found out that what I had understood from the first reading was completely different in the case of many chapters, because it was such a complicated and archaic language, no? So it was not easy for me to, but I was very imaginative that I could fill up all those gaps with my own imagination and create another book out of every book I read.
Meera, you were in a village, you finished your schooling there. College happened where? And you did communicative English, you said.
Don't remind me all
these things. Okay, let's not spend too much time on that.
I was saying there. I studied in a village school, and then soon after I passed my 10th, I was admitted to the college where both my parents were teaching. You can't imagine more disastrous thing for a 15-year-old, no? So it was like a prison in every way. It was like today's Delhi with the farmers outside, no? My father had paved a lot of thorns around our house, on the road, and it was not easy for me to tread all the way. But then afterwards, I insisted that I'm not going to study there anymore, because I failed the entrance examination very deliberately, so that I could, I will not have to study medicine or engineering, and that I can become a writer. Those days I wanted to become a writer only. So somehow, after fighting for a long time, I got permission to join a women's college in Kollam, which is the nearest town to our village. And I came to Kollam, and there started my emancipation, liberation, real liberation. So
say more on what made the emancipation possible.
Yeah, it was a women's college, and I studied in a girls' high school as well. So my father had this impression that once a woman is in the company of women, she is secure and she is protected, no? But he didn't know. I never had the courage to tell him that women are the most dangerous company for a free-willed women, because there can be other like-minded women who can help you and who can set you free, set your mind free like that. So there is another coincidence this time in this literature festival, that when I went to Kollam, when I at an age of 17 years, I hadn't read many books. I had read some books, but not many, because father had banned all the novels and everything in our house, because he wanted to see me as a doctor. So he used to tell me that learning or studies is like, what should I say, tapasya. Tapasya, what's the...
Merit, penance.
It's not, what is the...
Meditation.
It is not, it's not the meditation or contemplation doesn't... Yeah, it's like sannyasam, no? Yeah. So you shouldn't think about anything other than your studies. So when I went to Kollam, first I was put up in a college hostel, where it was like another prison, a prison within a prison. It was very difficult to break it, and every time I tried to break it, they had to summon my parents. So I told my mother, this is not going to work. If you want to see me well and alive, you have to change the hostel. Somehow my mother was very sensitive. She had a lot of hopes on me, and she trusted me, and she put me in a working men's hostel. And there actually, I came into the company of Noor Jahan, who is here. She was like, and there was Piyusha. She is a very well-known activist in Kerala, and other friends. So in the company of these grown-up women, Noor Jahan, whom I call Nimi Chechi, she was only 22 or 23 at that time. And Piyusha also was about 25 or so at that time. And both of them had helped me a lot, because Piyusha was a rank holder in Malayalam. She took her master's in Malayalam with a rank. And she gave me a lot of suggestions on what should I read. And both of them, Usha Chechi and Nimi Chechi, they used to discuss politics, literature, everything. And listening to them, I was really, I found out that there is another world which I thought existed only in my imagination. And it is possible for me to gain access to that world also. And that was like a very inch by inch moving to that rays of light you see at the end of the tunnel. Meanwhile, my situation, my family back in the village, the family was not going through a smooth time, because the fighting between parents intensified, and then the separation was about to, it was almost imminent, and we sisters, we stopped our fighting and we became very close from those days onwards. And then we started, both of us took to books a lot, and those days actually Nimi Chechi used to take me to movies, to restaurants. She will buy me whatever I like to eat, and then she will, every Saturdays she will go to the bookshops and library, and she will buy books for me as well. And from there onwards actually I found out that I had to brave the world, I had to brave my father. And then from there onwards I became an openly rebellious daughter.
So Meera, you worked as a journalist in Malayalam Manorama, and she won a prize, a PUCL prize, for. for her investigative report on the plight of women laborers. and this is all I could find. So tell us a little bit about who these women laborers were and what was the investigation about, and we'll move on to other things.
Anyway,
after.
you have started asking me about my journey, those roads, no? I have to tell why I ended up in journalism, or why I chose. See, by the time I started reading a lot, I found out that many writers in Malayalam were writing very good books, better than me. I never, those days I thought I can never beat them, because they were writing on themes which I can't even imagine, in such a language that I can't even dream of. So I thought, okay, this is not my cup of tea, because I didn't want to compete or try my luck in something which I won't be a victor. No, I won't be a winner. So I thought of the next option. And it appeared to me that I should be doing some job where my language would be of useful. So I thought about the other options, and it was at that time the Bofo scandal was published, no? So the Hindu reports, the Chitra Subramaniam reports on Bofos actually made an impact on me, that I thought, okay, this is my area. This is where I can do a lot, and I thought, okay, I am going to become a journalist. From there onwards, my reading, my dreaming, everything was centered around journalism, and I thought creative writing will be a lesser thing compared to journalism, because in journalism you are actually risking your life. The other thing is you are imagining things, where in journalism you are actually traveling, you are actually doing everything physically, no? So this is more adventurous, and I thought, okay, I'm going to become a journalist. And in those days there were not many women journalists in Malayalam. All these things greatly encouraged me, and I wanted to study journalism, but my father refused. Father said, no, you are not going to become a journalist, because the reason he used to tell me that all journalists are poor. All writers are poor. They can't afford to buy even good food. So you shouldn't have such ideas. But then the only option in his eyes left for me was to become a teacher, either in a school or a college. So when I said I want to study communicative English, he readily agreed. He wanted me to take a master's in literature, and then, because he had lost the hopes that I will have a master's in chemistry. My performance in BSc was not good. So he thought, oh, it's only 10 minutes left. Really? How can that be? No, we will rebel because we started very late. No. Yeah.
We started late.
Yeah. You came in late, and now you are saying that we have to start. Yeah.
In the last session, we can go till midnight.
Yeah, okay. Not midnight. So what happened was, I found out that this communicative English course, which was conducted by Gandhigram Rural Institute in Tamil Nadu, Dindigal, Tamil Nadu, was a very peculiar course in the sense that they had one paper journalism, one paper translation, one paper then phonetics, English language teaching. So that is a very, very special course, which was like where you could study a lot of papers, although not in depth. But I thought, okay, there is one paper journalism in it. I am going to join this course, and I will become a journalist afterwards. And those days they had an internship in Indian Express too. Thus I went to Gandhigram with my father for the interview and the written test, and I passed the written test with the first rank, the highest marks. And my father also liked the place because it was so strict a campus that girls were not allowed to look at the boys or even smile at them or even talk to them or go out of the place. Everything was like a prison. He was really impressed because he said, okay, you should study here only. And so I got admitted there. And Gandhigram changed me a lot. Gandhigram gave me another experience. It shaped my views, my language, my personality, my confidence. And after that, I applied to Malayalam Manorama. They were inviting journalist trainees, and I applied and I got job there. Then I found out that the journalism which I had in my imagination was quite different from the journalism practiced by in Kerala and other newspaper offices. No, it was a man's world. It is a man's world. So I was like a showcase piece in the beginning because I was the first woman to get a job there as an editorial trainee in the newspaper, which was then 107 years old. So it was after a century and 7 years that a woman entered the editorial board of that newspaper. So every time a guest comes, the management will say, here is our first woman sub-editor, and it was very enjoyable in the beginning, but later I found out that although I was the first, I passed the test, I was the first in the test and interview. When it came to real work, real journalism, boys were preferred. And this was not a happy experience for me. So I had to fight for late night duties, pages, everything in the beginning. Then after 9 months, another woman also came to the office, and the first issue was to find a place to live, because all the hostels in Kerala close their gates by 6 o'clock in the evening. So by exerting so much influence, political influence, that time, with curfew time was relaxed up to 9 p.m. But even after that, we can't. 9 p.m. means the newspaper starts working. It's the peak hour, no? Then we had to find a house for rent where people should allow two women, unmarried women, to live. And it was looking back, no, it is all very interesting experiences, adventures, but it was not easy in those days. Then somehow we held on, and then after 5 years, I was working day and night. I had dedicated myself to the uplifting of journalism career. But then what happened was, I realized that although I did a lot of work, I was working day and night. If you asked me what I gained from this, I didn't have an answer, because I didn't have anything to add to my resume or my biodata, which started troubling me. So then I fought for an opportunity to do an investigation series, investigative series, and then I chose, but all the political things will be reserved for men, no? The boys will do election reporting. The boys will do interviews with ministers or political leaders. The boys will cover all the main functions and meetings. So what's left for the poor weak women? So I thought about that, and I realized that unless I have a very strong biodata, I am not going to convince anyone that I am a good journalist. So I thought of, okay, nobody wanted women's issues those days. So I thought of writing about the women laborers, and it was not easy because again, that was not a topic which invited readership, no? But they had to convince them. And somehow I got it published, and it got an award. That was PUCL award for human rights was the most prestigious awards for journalists in those days, and I got it. And that was how I did on the way to receive the award. The award was presented in Jamshedpur, and it was to receive that award that I traveled to North India for the first time. So I visited Delhi for the first time then, Orissa, Calcutta, and all. That's how it happened.
So Meera, there's a bit of a skip. When she publishes the first story, she's already married, and we don't know very much about that, and I'm not sure if there is much time to get into that.
She had already...
No, let's not think about that now. But do you recall the response to your short story when it was published by any of the established writers? How was it received?
The first story?
Yes.
First short story was published in 2001. Yeah, I was not very happy about that story because it was an unedited story which was published by my husband without my knowledge, for which actually I was not happy about that. We quarreled a lot. I wanted to divorce him. Then, but then he actually had sent 3 stories to different periodicals. So one after another, all the 3 were published. There was a 4th story which the editor sent back. So I was so happy that it was sent back, because by the time it was sent back, I had rewritten the story, edited it, and even changed the title, and I sent it to another publication, that is Madhyamam Weekly, and it is the story called The Jugular of Memory in Yellow is the Color of Longing, Ormayuda Nyarambu. That story made, actually it was noticed by everyone. That story actually T. Padmanabhan, C. Radhakrishnan.
What was it noticed for? What did they like about it?
That story was noticed for... yeah, it's not a woman politician. It was like, how can I describe it? The story itself, it's like a young woman who is newly married is meeting the grandmother of her husband. And the grandmother is somewhat, she is somewhat demented, and she is in search of her old notebook, in which she had written about 3 stories. So she describes which stories she had written. The first one was like, first one was about a woman who writes a story in a man's name, and when it gets published, her husband says, "Oh, I wrote it," like that. And there is a second story, and the third story. When she was writing her second story, her husband was an MP and he was in Delhi. She couldn't go to Delhi, and she wanted to name their first child as Ravindranath, because she was a fan of Rabindranath Tagore, but her husband said no, Sri Ram. And then like that, no. So all these things comes in between conversation and with others and all. In the end, it was like you had that copy, no, yes. Chandan? Yeah. In the end, her husband comes in when the girl is. So the third story is about when she asks about the third story. It's about suiciding by hanging by neck, and the old woman tells the young woman that when you put the noose on your neck, you should be very careful. It should fall on the exact jugular. Only then you will die. If you don't die, you will lose your memory. So that is Orma means memory, and Ormayuda Nyarambu means jugular of memory. So Devika has translated beautifully as jugular of memory, not vein of memory. That was the story published, the main story published.
So Meera, we have to now jump across time. You published 5 novels already, 5 short story anthologies, novellas. And in one of your interviews, you say you're not interested in writing for feminists, but you want to turn your readers into feminists. So what do you have in
Why
mind?
should I write for feminists? Because even without reading my books,
no,
they
that's
are
not the
already
thing.
feminists.
No. What does it mean to turn someone into a feminist? What is that all about?
What do you think about that, Chandan?
No, but what's your idea of feminism?
What's your idea of feminism? Tell me.
My idea of feminism, it will take hours and hours.
Oh no, you can really. And then my idea of feminism is very brief and concise, and you can find it if you read the preamble of our constitution. You just read the preamble of Indian constitution and you will understand what it is.
But that's not specific to women. It's specific to
Yeah.
citizens.
What is the preamble? What does it say?
No,
Justice.
okay, let me rephrase my question.
Justice.
No.
Liberty.
Meera, I have my sense is because you write in Malayalam, there's a Malayali humanism
Yeah.
that will articulate a vision of feminist emancipation.
No. There
somewhat
is
differently,
actually
even
the
within
feminist.
and
No,
outside.
for me actually it is like justice,
But
liberty, equality, and to
Yes.
promote among us fraternity.
But then feminists
If
have
you
fought for a
believe in
century
this,
to
if
define
you
these
believe in
terms.
this, if you believe in this, if you work to attain this in and around or inside us and outside us, means around us, I think you are feminist. You are feminist. Feminism is the basic ideals or the bare ideas of feminism is this. We want justice, political, social, economical, liberty of faith, of thought,
Yes.
expression,
No, but
speech,
feminism, they can be
and equality of opportunities.
Sure,
all
no.
sorts of-
Meera, stated at that level of abstraction,
Yeah.
you can't dispute it. It's true across the world. But then, if you're a feminist, let's say writing in Kannada, with a different sensibility, I would imagine that the language itself passes on to you. I think the texture of feminism will vary. Even if this emancipatory
Yeah.
vision in the, stated at such broad levels of generality will seem like, sure, that who can argue with that? Since you're working with Malayalam, this is another question I had for you actually. I mean, how did you find the language adequate?
See,
to do the
I'll tell you.
work you wanted
We
to do?
were speaking about the constitution and our fundamental rights, no?
Mhm.
These fundamental rights, if we all are assured, or I can exercise or I can experience the same fundamental rights as you are, you as a man can, that stage, I will say, it will be kind of, that's what I am aiming for. So when I write something, I imagine that I am in that state, or I am in, I am giving to you that is, I am bringing in the constitution, the fundamental rights, into our homes, into our workplaces, into our reading spaces, into the souls, okay? And unless you do that, you can't be a complete citizen. And unless you are a complete citizen, you are not yourself.
Yeah. No, Meera, just to give you an example, Amar Akbar Antony's film is a profoundly constitutional film. It's done after the Indian Constitution has been put in place, but it executes the vision in a certain way. Right? I mean, so you execute it in a certain way, this vision of emancipation. So this is what I was trying to get you to respond to in terms of, what kind of sensibility transformation are you aiming to do? Because is it an exercise in rights, education? I mean, your novels are not about giving readers an education in rights. It might be, but you've taken another form to do it. In fact, one of my questions was the novel Khabar, based on Babri Masjid demolition. I mean, referencing to that, and then Assassin referencing to something else. You're referring to over-commented upon real-life incidents, but you're taking the route of fiction to address that. So what does fiction let you do that you as a journalist couldn't have done if you wrote as a journalist? I mean, this is the...
I know this
Yeah.
is the essence of fiction,
Yes.
fiction writing, no? The
Yeah.
secret. I write fiction because I want people to remember this.
Mm.
Unless I tell something in the form of a story, it's not going to be remembered. I want it to be remembered. I want it to be experienced. I want my readers to live through that. Non-fiction is a detached form of. There are some works in non-fiction which will do the task of fiction, but I like the magic in fiction, where I can play with the reality and transform it into something else, doing a magic so that it will create a world which I am dreaming. Okay.
Meera has also done 4 screenplays for television serials, many of them running into 150 episodes, 100 episodes long. So I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what
Yeah, I wrote them
that
for a
was.
living.
Yeah.
When I resigned my job as a journalist, I had to find out a way to live. But the first serial was not like was not written entirely for money. It was like a challenge, because till then I hadn't written even a scene for any such serial or cinema. So it was like an experiment, and two producers asked me whether you can write a script for a serial, and I said, why not? Why can't I try it? And it turned out that people enjoyed it. And even today, when some of my friends whom I didn't know at that time used to quote those dialogues which I had written for them, I thoroughly enjoyed when I wrote them. Yeah.
Were you
those
doing
days.
something else here than you do in your fictional works, or did you see them as part of the same literary effort?
Those days, actually, I didn't view it as a literary effort at all. Because all those serials were commercial ones. I didn't get an opportunity to actually fulfill my creative needs in the visual form those days. Later, I became a full-time writer, and once Arachar or Hangman came into my life, I started writing that. No, things were not that easy. I couldn't go back to anything lesser afterwards. Hangman changed my life, my thought process, my attitude to literature, everything. Because that was the first time I was like carrying such a big architecture upon my head and working on that.
Yeah. So Meera, I don't know if Vivek's coming in means we have to close.
Yeah, it's
but I
have to
won't
close.
ask you a question. How have you seen your relationship with the other Indian writers of your generation? Because you're in dialogue with writers outside Kerala, and you work.
I look forward to listening them. The relationship. I can't say that I have very close relationship except one or two with Paramita or. But then when I listen to writers, especially in Indian languages, I'm so happy, and it is like being in a network. It's like the tangled roots of the same tree, and I look forward to them for more Indian experiences rather than writers writing in English. So this is very important for me to communicate with them to understand that Indianness, that part of Indianness in our life. I think it is very important.
Thank you,
I
Meera.
always dream of a pool of multilingual translators who could help us to read, to translate from the Indian languages straight into another Indian language, so that we don't have to depend on English translations much.
Okay.
It's not that English translations are lesser things, but when you translate into an Indian language, for example, from Malayalam to Tamil, It, of course, has many, it has a wider scope, and the translation will be easier, and because there are equal Indian experiences in both languages when you compare it with a European language or another country's language. That is.
So, Meera, different people have translated your work. You have different translators. J. Devika being the most. She's done the most. Nisha Susan has done one, and some. What has working with different translators revealed to you about your own work? Has it done anything in terms of their own style? Because Devika says she doesn't want to be faithful to, put quotation marks to your prose. I mean, working with different translators, has it been illuminating in a way?
Yeah, working with Devika has been special to me because she understands without explaining to her. And she is of the same age, we belong to the same generation, we belong to the same cultural background. And she is a very intelligent and scholarly fellow. So you don't have to tell, maybe she will explain to me many things which I don't know about my process because she is a critic also.
Can you think of one right now?
Yeah, she always says that when she translated Hangwoman, she told me that I had been in my short stories and the works which I wrote previous to Hangwoman, I had been experimenting with the idea and the theme of Hangwoman in such a way that some sculptors they build small wax models or matte models before making a sculpture in concrete or metal, a big sculpture. No, so she says this is like my exercise with the idea of Hangwoman in that. So certain things she always she gives an idea into, or she dissects it, and she very truthfully or sometimes very rudely explains what was going on in my mind, which maybe I would have been not conscious about that. Working with Nisha, Susan and Abhirami and Biju, they were another experience. Nisha is a writer herself, and she's a very delightful person. She's a very she has immense humor sense, and she actually I found her. It was so amazing to work with her. It was very easy. It was like I wrote the book. You know, she just translated it with that ease. And I had underestimated her in such a way that she belonged to a younger generation, and I was not sure, and her cultural background, even religious background was different. So I was not sure how she will translate certain very local and mythical elements in the story, but she did it amazingly. And Abhirami and Biju. Abhirami is a wonderful person because Abhirami is not a speaker. Malayalam is not her mother tongue. Tamil is her mother tongue. She learned Malayalam. She translated it into English by listening to the original, reading the original, and working on it like better than any Malayali. She can translate Malayalam into English. And Biju also, Biju is her husband, and both of them helped a lot in bringing out Jezebel. And then there was Rajesh Rajamohan. That's the only male translator I had. I always prefer women translators because I think that the politics of politics I want to highlight in my work will be grasped better by women, because unless you experience certain things, no, you won't understand. Mm-hmm. So those people who have experienced certain things can translate it better is my superstition, if I say. Then Ministi. Ministi is such a fast, amazing translator. She will translate any number of pages in no time, and even the first draft will be about 70% perfect. Although she was an IAS officer working with so much busy. So I am very happy with my translators. Every time my process is the same. When they send me the first draft, I'll compare it with my original and then read it again, aloud, and I listen to it, and then I find out where I am not satisfied, and I will tell them where it is.
Yeah.
Then that's
Meera, on my way here, I ran into Minnie, our friend, and I asked her, do you have a question
she is
for
my
Meera?
editor. Yeah, this.
So her
this,
question to you is, why do you always, or why do you, the opening sentence she said is always stark. Ask her why is it that way. So that's my last question, and then we'll see.
See, unless the opening sentence is so sharp, she won't read my book. I want to hook my readers, and this is very selfish of me. I want to hook my readers. I make sure that a reader who picks up a book and glance through the first sentence will read the book. Will read the book. That's all.
Thank you, Meera. I'm done with my questions. Vivek, do you have time for the audience, or do you have to wrap it up? Okay, no, I totally understand.
That was an amazing session. I look forward to catching up with it on YouTube very soon. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Chandan, for having it, and thank you so much, Meera, for this, for honoring us again at the Goa Arts and Literature Festival. When we talk about, in Goa, when we talk about the kind of Indian literature that we want to belong to, KR Meera's name is at the very top, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
It means a great deal. Friends, I hope all of you will be joining us. We are actually running a little late, so we would like to get everyone to the Cabo, the magnificent confluence of these two rivers, the Zuari on one side and the Mandovi. We're going to be convening there at sunset for a poetry reading, and I hope all of you will be joining us very soon. All you need is a government ID. You do not have to have registered in advance. Thank you so much once again to Chandan Gowda and KR Meera. It's at Raj Bhavan, Cabo Raj Nivas, as we call it. You have my book, you'll sign it.